Yes, it's true. You could literally eat whatever you want and still lose weight. And I'm going to explain to you why and how that works. And you'll have a better understanding by the end of this video. But first, before we do anything else, please make sure that you have notifications turned on, that you are subscribed, you comment below, and give a thumbs up, because then I can keep bringing awesome videos like this where I have cookies to you. Also, if you just aren't sure about any of this and you want to get started, you can click below for my free calorie calculator, guaranteed to help you figure out what the heck you're doing with your calories and your nutrition to help you lose weight in a more effective way that's more sustainable. So without further ado, I'm dunking. I was using that cookie for a prop. I might have eaten the entire thing. I hear this all the time, especially when I was younger, that I can eat whatever I want and it doesn't affect me. If I look at a carbohydrate, I'm just going to gain a ton of weight. That's not how it works. The truth is, the only way you gain weight is by being in a calorie surplus. That's the only way it happens. You can't pin it on cookies, you can't pin it on cake, you can't pin it on carbohydrates, you can't pin it on fat. What you can say is if you are in a calorie surplus, you're going to gain weight, simply because you're eating above the amount of calories you need to sustain the current weight you're at. Just like when you eat less than you need to sustain your current weight, you will lose weight, a calorie deficit. So technically, you could eat whatever you want, and so long as your calories are in check, you would lose weight. There's an experiment where a college professor ate nothing but Twinkies and lost weight. Recently, there was someone who ate nothing but food off the McDonald's menu, and they lost, I think, close to 100 pounds. Now, the reason why they lost weight was because they didn't eat the entire meal. They cut it in half and saved the other half for their following meal. So they weren't overeating, and they were probably in a calorie deficit. They were also being active. And while long-term, that's probably not the best bet, because you're not getting a variety of fruits and vegetables and fiber and various other forms of nutrition into your diet, you can still lose weight doing it. If you want to talk more about it, by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the exact steps you should follow if you want to lose weight in a more sustainable way. So make sure you stick around till the end for that. But let's talk a little bit about why someone can eat whatever they want and are losing weight. Because yes, outside of knowing about a calorie deficit, there are people who don't pay any attention at all to their nutrition, and they manage to stay in a leaner body. So we'll give the example. There are some people that you will see eating candy all the time. You will see them eating bread all the time. All these things that we normally are triggered by to say, well, that would just make me gain weight. And the truth is, they're not going to gain weight because maybe they are having higher levels of meat. Meat is important, especially if we are looking at your body's overall use of caloric energy throughout the day. So what is NEAT? NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. NEAT is literally everything I've been doing in this video thus far. Talking, moving my hands, blinking my eyes, going for a walk, all those things that aren't necessarily exercise still require energy to be able to do it. So that's a trick right there. If you are someone who wants to lose weight, increasing your step count is an easy way to measure an increase in your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. You could have someone who when they eat a lot of that type of food, their body actually moves more. I am one of those people. If I am in a calorie surplus, I find that my leg twitches more, that I click pens more, I have a harder time standing still, and I will go for longer walks. That's just me by nature. Other people will consume more and they don't have any of that happen. That boils down to genetics, that boils down to lifestyle choices. You can't really blame one single thing on it. Every person is unique. Every person has a different response to things. But we can say again, a calorie deficit is the only way someone loses weight. Calorie maintenance is the only way someone maintains their weight. But let's say you still see them eat those things like pizza, cake, ice cream, pretzels, and you just still have that in the back of your mind. Why can they do that? And why are they not gaining a bunch of weight? Well, what you also have to see is you're only seeing them a small percentage of the time. You don't necessarily know what the rest of their day looks like. When I was in high school, I would go out to eat with my friends, And I can remember I would get a double quarter pounder, extra large fries, and a Diet Coke, because I was diabetic, still am diabetic, and I would crush that. And then I would go and we would eat like maybe some pretzels or some other things. And I would do that 2-3 times a week, but I never gained a pound. And yes, we could say it was my thrifty metabolism because I was moving a lot, but it was also that I would eat that and then I wouldn't eat dinner because I was full. They might see ice cream and eat it, but at other times of the day, they're not eating ice cream and things are pretty well balanced. They have an easier time recognizing when they're full and they stop eating. On the other side of the spectrum though, you have someone who could eat those things and have a harder time recognizing they're full and continue eating. That due to the nature of certain foods being highly palatable. A combination of carbs and fats makes it easier to overconsume something. That's why having an awareness around your nutrition and around your calories can be helpful, because it can help set up some sort of a guide system, almost like the guardrails in bowling. We don't want those guardrails forever. We don't want to track calories forever, but we do want to have a better awareness of what actual portion sizes are and how much we actually are eating, especially if we're struggling with our weight and we are just convinced that people can eat whatever they want, but you can't. No, it's not carbs. No, it's not fat. Again, it's a calorie surplus. There is this great line that a lot of different coaches will use, that progress for one person could be saying no to a cookie because they always say yes to cookies, and right now they're trying to pay attention to their nutrition a little bit more. Progress for another person could be saying yes to the cookie because they always have said no. And it's been this weird relationship they've had with food because they feel like consuming it is bad. And then the famous line that comes after is, this could be the exact same person. And it's true. For one person, saying yes and no can be a big step for progress when it comes to losing weight and weight management. You have to consider this. To help you with this, there's this idea of 50-50. 50% of the time you say yes to the thing, 50% of the time you say no to the thing. If you have this awareness that it's a 50-50, well, you're going to be more likely to take it easy on yourself, not beat yourself up if you choose the thing. But that's not to say that for a period of time, it's going to be one extreme versus the other extreme. And the idea of intuitive eating, right? It's not really a system designed to help someone lose weight. It's a system designed to help someone heal their relationship with food and maybe disordered practices they've had. So go into this next section with that in the back of your mind. I'm not saying intuitive eating is a system to lose weight. I would be a fucking terrible coach if I was telling you that. And anyone who does tell you that is just trying to get you to buy something. You should not use intuitive eating for weight loss. And anyone claiming they are losing weight using intuitive eating, they are just someone who actually might be eating a little more mindfully, but they also weighed and measured everything for a chunk of time. And they know what 4 ounces of steak looks like. They can actually eyeball what 30 grams of potatoes looks like. It's because they did it so obsessively for years and years. Or not even obsessively, they just did it for a period of time. And yes, we want to get to a point where we can be more mindful and a little more intuitive about what we're eating. But intuitive eating has this practice where if for years you said no to stuff, you have to start saying yes to things. That might mean, like an example of Halloween candy. Maybe you're a person who has a tendency to binge on Halloween candy because you never allow yourself to have any of that stuff. So as a practice to lead up to Halloween, maybe you have Halloween candy or candy with every single one of your meals. Now, you're probably going to get tired of eating candy, but you still have to eat the candy. Because what it's doing, it's removing this magic surrounding it. Because what you actually do have when it comes to those things that are off limits is you have unconditional permission to eat them. I don't tell any of my clients that I work with online that they're not allowed to have a specific food. That's fucking antiquated and stupid, right? Because there are no good or bad foods. There are just foods that we have a complicated relationship with or foods we have a better understanding of. So you have this unconditional permission to eat the food. The first part of this, though, is can you just save it for later, right? So if we look at the person who's slamming ice cream and they claim that this other person doesn't gain weight whenever they eat ice cream, remember, the person who's eating ice cream actually is hungry. Like they're actually not overly stuffed. But if you finish your whole meal and you are full and then you're like, I just want some ice cream, well, there's a difference there. So could you just save that ice cream for later? Could you just save the ice cream for tomorrow night, right? It's not going anywhere. The next question you can layer on top of that once you get comfortable with that is the idea of, will I even enjoy it? Like, yes, I have unconditional permission to have this, but will I even enjoy it? If you are so fucking full, you are uncomfortable and unbuckling your pants, and you eat ice cream, do you think you're gonna enjoy that? Probably not. Maybe for the first 20 seconds you'll enjoy it, but I promise you, you're gonna be very uncomfortable the rest of the night. So the question is, like, why do we force ourselves to eat something even though we're already full? Is because we don't give ourselves a chance to recognize that we're full, and we feel as if it's like special, like we're never gonna get to have this opportunity again. There's a time and a place for that line of thinking, but when it comes to having a better understanding around your nutrition and your wellness, you have to pause for a little bit and give yourself some time to answer that question. How am I going to lose weight then because I want to still include the things I love eating? Great, I'm glad you stuck around for the end of the video because I'm going to walk you through this system. One more time, I just want to remind you, you should subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, leave a thumbs up or drop a thumbs up, leave a comment below so I can keep bringing you stuff like this. And again, if you're not sure about any of this nutrition stuff, you can just click the link below, get my free calorie calculator, and it even has a link to my fat loss guide, which will help you make sense of all of this. For one, you have to be in a calorie deficit. So you have to know how much you're actually eating. When you're aware of how much you're eating, you can then make slight adjustments, right? Maybe that's not something you were prepared to hear. Maybe you thought I was going to say, well, you need to calculate your calories first and then subtract this. No, you just have to be aware of how much you're eating right now. I'm not even gonna tell you to count calories because maybe that's too much for you right now. But the first thing is you have to write down what you're eating. I didn't say you have to track the calories, although that would be more helpful for you. If we look on the scale of good, better, best, best would be tracking your protein, carbs, fat, being within like a 5 to 10 gram range. Better would be tracking your total protein and fiber and calories for the day and being within a range. And then good would just be literally hitting a calorie number, plus or minus 100, right? We can look at it all sorts of ways. What matters is tracking is just a way of keeping yourself accountable and a way of recognizing portion sizes. You're not good or bad if you're over or under calories, and that's why I really don't like single calorie numbers. I'd rather have someone use a either big range or a smaller range based on them and their particular way of going about things. You could literally just write down what you're eating, what time you're eating, how much you're eating, and how you felt while eating and after you ate or before you ate. This is what I call a food and feelings log. It's a nice way for you to be able to recognize if you were even hungry in the first place, and if you weren't hungry, what you were experiencing before you ate the thing. You can have that as a guide. I say doing it for 30 days. Just literally writing it down, writing the time you eat, what you're eating, where you're eating, like how much you're having. That's all you have to do. If you want to take it a step further, at the end of the day, you can go to Google and you can just type in how many grams of protein in X or Y, how many calories in X or Y. That does take a longer amount of time, but it's a completely valid way to go about tracking if you want to. If you're like, hey, I want to do all that, I want to write all that stuff down, but I want to be more accurate, well then you would literally just download an app like Macros First. You would enter in everything, weigh it out in grams, and you would just be as accurate as you could. Now, it's not a forever thing, like I said, it's just to help you recognize portion sizes. You can even do that for a week and be like, I have a better idea now, so I'm gonna go back to just writing things out. Either way, that's gonna help you be just a little more accountable. So start there, that's step number one. Do some form of tracking, whether it be weighing everything out or whether it just be writing things down. That's gonna help you actually see what you're having and how much you're having. Step number two is use the 3-2 method. 3 balanced plates and 2 snacks per day. If we use 3 balanced plates and 2 snacks per day, I guarantee you will eat less. What do I mean by that? Well, if we're technically eating less and you're hitting your step count or going and lifting weights, you are naturally going to be in somewhat of a deficit. You'll find you'll still lose weight. And it's without being overly obsessed or trying to do all 50 billion things that you could possibly do, right? These are two things that we can do right now. Number one is track, have some form of tracking system in place. And number two, hit at least 3 balanced plates and 2 snacks per day. What are on those plates? Now, one example might be me just saying, well, you're gonna have breakfast, lunch, and dinner on those plates. That's great. That's a good starting point. You wanna make sure you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're not gonna skip meals. Some people can fast. I find that folks who are trying to lose weight who fast can't sustain it for a long period of time, or later in the evenings will binge a little bit more or eat more out of their control in the evenings because they've been saving up for that meal. So what I actually suggest is eating 3 balanced plates that prioritize protein and vegetables. 3 balanced plates. Now, a balanced plate means you have protein, carbs, fat, and fiber. That's how I would look at it. So balanced plate, I'm gonna visualize, if you will, maybe half of the plate. So 50% of the plate, you're working up to have at least 50% of the plate be vegetables or fruit. I say vegetables or fruit because I'm gonna be honest, no one got fat from eating too many vegetables or too much fruit. I don't care what anyone says, fruit does not make you fat. In fact, it is one of the best things you could be consuming because it is so high in fiber and lower in calorie, you naturally can have more of it and be satiated, right? Like I think a pound of watermelon has maybe like 130 calories. It's not a lot, and that's a shit ton of watermelon. You also probably get diarrhea if you eat that much in one sitting, but everyone's different. Maybe avoiding vegetables. There are a ton of health benefits to eating enough vegetables and fruits. Tons of fiber, a direct related to reduction in all-cause mortality. I don't care what any of the carnivore bros tell you. There's no research there that's actually true. And if there is any research, it's cherry-picked and has nothing to do with anything if you actually read the research. But 50% are probably fruits and or vegetables. I say fruits and vegetables combined too, because first thing in the morning, a lot of people don't want to fucking eat vegetables. If you're having eggs, it's really easy to throw in some vegetables with those eggs. But if you're not, it's kind of hard. So I would lump in fruit. Fruit is full of fiber. You can look at berries, dark berries. Those are wonderful. But really any kind of fruit could be very helpful for you. And then the other quarter of the plate would be your protein. Now, I say leaner sources of protein are going to be your friend while you're trying to lose weight. So think of things like your chicken breast, turkey, extra lean ground beef, top round roast, pork chops, like fish, fatty fish. You could look at your Greek yogurt, your cottage cheese, your protein powders, the list can go on and on. Now for my plant-based friends, if your plate does not contain any protein, then you could technically count your legumes, your beans, your lentils as your protein source. For plant-based folks, it's gonna be a little bit different. Maybe I'll do another video on hitting high protein for a plant-based person who is trying to lose weight. If that's something you'd like to see, just comment below. Let me know, that could be really helpful. But we're gonna keep moving on. The protein, just to help you, 1 palmful is equal to about 20 to 30 grams of protein. Most individuals trying to lose weight, at least 1.5 palmfuls is going to be a great place to be because we want to increase our protein intake because it's lower in calorie, very satiating, and can help you preserve lean muscle mass and build muscle mass. All great reasons. The other quarter of the plate, because we just hit protein, is going to be carbohydrates. Now I would count these as like starchy carbohydrates, but really just carbohydrates. So a cupped handful of carbohydrates is equivalent to about 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrates. Based off you and your preferences, about 1 to 1.5 cupped handfuls is going to be great and will set you up for a pretty balanced plate. You want to think of fibrous carbohydrates too. Things like lentils, things like quinoa, things like, technically brown rice has more fiber in it, but it doesn't really matter. Brown, white rice. You could look at things like sweet potato. The only reason why I bring that up is because things that are higher in fiber tend to be more satiating and also tend to be lower in calories, so you can increase the amount you're eating without, going all over and going bonkers. And the final part of this is a thumb length of fat. A thumb length of fat, your thumb length, is equal to 7 to 12 grams of fat. So we want to have about one to two thumbfuls of fat at every meal. A lot of people skip out on fat. That would be the things that you are cooking your food with. That would include any cheeses, any sauces, any dressings. Like, that's all fat, so you have to track that and be aware of it. Again, it's equal to about 7 to 12 grams of fat. So that's about 1 to 2 tablespoons is an easy way to look at that. So using that system, you want to aim for at least 3 balanced plates per day throughout the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Try to space them out every 4 to 6 hours. Now that's like in an ideal scenario. And I say every 4 to 6 hours because if you're spacing it out 4 to 6 hours, you're less likely to overeat at your following meal and less likely to get a snack attack and go a little bonkers. That's why I implement the idea of having 2 pre-planned snacks during the day. Those 2 pre-planned or deliberate snacks are not a free-for-all. And what I mean by free-for-all is just going to the vending machine and raging through the vending machine. Because you're gonna find those highly palatable things that are a mixture of carbs and fats that are just not gonna fill you up and cause you to eat more of said thing. Not that there's anything wrong with Doritos, but those are not going to fill you up because there is jack all protein in there. There's like nothing in there. And it's just mainly carbs and fat. So what you can actually do in this case, I would look for protein-based snacks, things that are higher in protein and higher in fiber. When protein and fiber are mixed together, you're gonna have an easier time staying full. So a great example of this would be something like having a protein shake with a banana. Having that as a snack, protein is gonna keep you full longer. The banana is gonna keep you full longer. It's lower in calorie, and it can be pretty damn tasty, especially when it's like a chocolate protein shake and you have a banana. Another example would be having something like those Chomps meat sticks and some berries. Another example would be like having a Oikos Greek yogurt, which has like 20 grams of protein in it, and having an apple. Another example would be taking some rolled up turkey deli meat and having some almonds, right? We see we're mixing these things together and they make it easier so that you stay full between meals. And when you get to your next meal, you can just stick to having that balanced plate. Write it down and log what you're going to have the day prior, right? So the night before, your Tuesday at work, you write down, oh, for breakfast I'll have this, lunch I'll have this, dinner I'm having this, and my 2 snacks are going to be this and this. Well, now you have an outline versus trying to just piss into the wind, because that never works and you usually get new pants after. Hopefully you get new pants. And number 3 would be make sure you're hitting at least 15 grams of fiber for every 1,000 calories you're having. That's a rough estimate. For men, the general American guideline, I believe, is to have 36 to 38 grams of fiber per day, and for women, at least 25 grams of fiber per day. Those are important. Fiber is nature's broomstick. It helps you have a healthy gut. It helps improve, it leads to a reduction in all-cause mortality. It improves blood sugar stabilization. It's great. And if you increase it, you'll find you're more full throughout the day and satiated throughout the day. And a lot of people don't nearly get enough. I would actually rather see someone focus on their fiber and set their protein goal a little bit lower, because you'll find that you're still satiated and you're getting all the benefits, and the extra fiber will help with the digestion of all the extra protein that you're eating. Number 4 would be switching to diet beverages. Switch to diet beverages or 0-calorie liquids. A lot of folks use a lot of their calories in liquid things that they're not even thinking about. Things like soda, things like juice, things actually like your creamers that you add to your coffee and stuff. There are calories in there, and they're not bad by any means, but if you switch to 0-calorie versions of those things, sugar-free versions of those things, nothing bad's gonna happen to you. You would have to consume a shit ton for something bad to happen to you. I'm talking like unheard of levels, because in those studies that a lot of people will talk about with the dangers of natural or artificial sweeteners, they're done on mice, where they are injected with 1,000 times the amount that we would actually consume, and they're mice. So you have to look at it with a grain of salt, or actually read the research to have a better understanding of those things. Or you could check out someone like Layne Norton, who does an amazing job of breaking down research. You'll be able to click and watch a video all about sweeteners up there, which is pretty darn helpful. Switching to diet, beverages or zero-calorie liquids, I would prefer you drink water, simply because not enough people are drinking water. It's very helpful. And no, coffee does not dehydrate you because it's a liquid. All of your liquid should not be coffee, because good luck trying to sleep. 5, making sure that you are getting at least 6 hours of sleep. I say at least 6 hours because some of you are parents. I'm about to welcome our next child into the world with my wife in May. I know my sleep is going to be shit, so I am giving myself grace here. At least 6 hours of sleep per night. The reason why is because the later you are staying up, the more likely you're going to get snacky and eat things that aren't going to fit into your 3-plate 2 snacks, but also are going to be more highly palatable. Also, reduction in sleep leads to a raise in cortisol, which can also impact the scale due to stress. You will also find that you're more likely to eat more the following day when you are up later, because your hunger and fullness hormones within your body get all out of whack. So aiming to improve your sleep is going to be very, very beneficial for you, especially if we are trying to lose weight and if we just want to live a longer life. You can't make up for sleep, and unfortunately that means that if you're trying to make up for everything on the weekend, it doesn't work that way. That's not how the human body works. It is not a credit card. You cannot pay it back when it comes to sleep. Then we also want to look at how much we're moving our body throughout the day. We want to look at our NEAT, and an easy way to track that is 7,500 steps per day. Try to hit 7,500 steps. If you're not hitting 7,500 steps and you're at like 2,000 steps, let's not be cuckoo bonkers bananas. Let's just try to hit 4,000 steps, right? Work your way up till you're hitting 7,500 steps per day. And once you hit 7,500, then aim to increase it to 10,000. Now, is 10,000 an arbitrary number? I would argue that yes, it was an arbitrary number, but research has now come out that showing anything above 7,500 steps has a direct relation to reduced all-cause mortality. Now, there could be tons of other lifestyle factors that are included in that, but simply adding more movement to your day allows you to use the calories that you're consuming towards energy, and it allows us to stay leaner. So it's just also tons of health benefits, like mental health. Getting outside, having the sun in your face, walking around, it's a great way to clear your mind, and it's a great tool for your mental health. So don't overlook that. And the final one is add some resistance training in there. You're going to want to build some muscle, and technically, having more muscle makes it so that your body uses more calories. Can build muscle, and lean muscle mass is so very important as you go into a weight loss phase, because if you aren't building muscle and you are in a deficit for a while, it is easy to burn through muscle. So we want to make sure that we're preserving our lean muscle mass and we don't lose it. As we age, we lose muscle mass. We want to preserve it. We also want to build some muscle, because as we get leaner, we want to have body recomposition, so we see that lean, toned look. So again, resistance training, lifting weights 2 to 3 times per week is a great place to be. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy, super intense. It's just about being as consistent as you can possibly be, because consistency trumps perfection every single damn time. So I know we covered a lot in this video. I hope you found it helpful. Again, make sure you're subscribed, you have notifications turned on, you give a thumbs up. And if you have any other questions, just comment below. I love to read the comments, and it's a nice way for me to know what type of content to bring you next. So without further ado, remember, you're only one day away from getting back on track, and one day away from realizing how fucking amazing you are.